Rome Reports comes to you from the Department of Social Communications, Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, this and every Sunday from 3:30 to 4 p.m. on GTV.
Our family has spanned the centuries and the globe. With God's grace, we started hospitals to care for the sick. We establish orphanages and help the poor. We are the largest charitable organization on the planet, bringing comfort to those in need. We educate more children than any other institution. We developed the scientific method and founded the college system. We defend the dignity of human life and uphold marriage. Guided by the Holy Spirit, we compiled the Bible. We are transformed by sacred scripture and sacred tradition, which have guided us for 2,000 years. We are the Catholic Church, with over 1 billion in our family, sharing in the sacraments and fullness of the Christian faith. Jesus started our church when he said to Peter, the first pope, "You are rock, and upon this rock I will build my church." So if you've been away from the Catholic Church, we invite you to take another look. Visit catholicscomehome.org today. We are Catholic. Welcome home.
Coming up in today's show, the Pope supports an interfaith prayer for the end of COVID-19. The coronavirus worsens discrimination against Christians in Pakistan. Shocking story of a singer who changes his life for his daughter. All this and much more here on Rome Reports. Pope Francis announced that May 14th will be a day of prayer, fasting, and charitable works to end COVID-19. The initiative came from the Higher Committee of Human Fraternity, who proposes that everyone, regardless of religion, participate.
Ho accolto la proposta dell'Alto Comitato per la Fratellanza Umana affinché il prossimo 14 maggio i credenti di tutte le religioni si uniscano spiritualmente in una giornata di preghiera, digiuno e opere di carità, per implorare Dio di aiutare l'umanità a superare la pandemia del coronavirus.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also tweeted his support for the moment of reflection, hope, and faith. This day is part of the committee's task to share the message of the document on human fraternity for world peace and living together. The Pope signed it in Abu Dhabi in February 2019 with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Now, more than a year after the signing of the document, the members invite all religious leaders and people to ask God to bless and safeguard the world so it will be better than before the pandemic. During the Regina Caeli this Sunday, the Pope prayed for patients of the coronavirus and for health personnel who take care of them. In addition, he said he supports international collaboration initiatives that have been launched in response to the crisis.
È importante, infatti, mettere insieme le capacità scientifiche in modo trasparente e disinteressato per trovare vaccini e trattamenti e garantire l'accesso universale alle tecnologie essenziali che permettano ad ogni persona contagiata in ogni parte del mondo di ricevere le necessarie cure sanitarie.
In his homily, the Pope reflected on the parable of the Good Shepherd, who is the only voice heard by the flock. Pope Francis asked Catholics to learn to distinguish the voice of God from the voice of the enemy.
La voce del nemico distoglie dal presente e vuole che ci concentriamo sui timori del futuro o sulle tristezze del passato. Il nemico non vuole il presente. Far riafforire le amarezze, i ricordi dei torti subiti, di chi ci ha fatto del male e tanti ricordi brutti. Invece la voce di Dio parla al presente.
The Pope also explained the voice of God and that of the devil pose completely different questions.
Quella che viene di Dio sarà: che cosa mi fa bene? Invece il tentatore insistirà su un'altra domanda: che cosa mi va di fare? Che cosa mi va? La voce cattiva ruota sempre attorno al io, alle sue pulsioni, ai suoi bisogni, al tutto e subito. È come i capricci dei bambini. Tutto e adesso.
After the prayer, as he had done every other week, the Pope leaned out the window of his study before the completely empty St. Peter's Square to bless the city and the world. The Pope held his general audience from inside the library of the Apostolic Palace, the same room he uses for meetings with political leaders. Pope Francis concluded his catechesis on the Beatitudes, reflecting on the meaning of "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." The Pope said it shouldn't be surprising that Christian virtues such as poverty, pureness, and meekness are ridiculed and rejected.
Così pensa il mondo. Questi sono idealistici o fanatici. Se il mondo vive in funzione del denaro, chiunque dimostri che la vita può compiersi nel dono e nella rinuncia diventa un fastidio per il sistema di avidità. La sola testimonianza cristiana che fa tanto bene a tanta gente perché la segue dà fastidio a coloro che hanno una mentalità mondana. La vivono come un rimprovero.
The Pope remembered the martyrs of today, victims emerging from hatred for the faith. He said one must be careful, however, because contempt for Christians isn't always persecution.
C'è anche un disprezzo che è colpa nostra quando perdiamo il sapore di Cristo e del Vangelo. Bisogna essere fedeli al sentiero umile delle beatitudini, perché è questo che porta ad essere di Cristo e non del mondo.
The Pope's proposal is to live one's own faith with optimism and coherence, to remember that Christ was also rejected, and to count on God's help in difficult times. Before concluding, the Pope strayed from his prepared discourse to invoke the help of St. Catherine of Siena, patron saint of Europe.
Chiedo a Santa Caterina che protegga l'Italia durante questa pandemia e protegga l'Europa perché è patrona d'Europa. Protegga tutta l'Europa perché rimanga unita.
The Vatican is looking into when and how to allow pilgrims to participate in the Pope's events. However, it doesn't seem likely that events like these will be possible anytime soon. Fra Giacomo dalla Torre del Tempo di Sanguinetto, the Grand Master of the Order of Malta, died Wednesday. According to a press release by the Order, Dalla Torre, 75, was diagnosed with an incurable disease a few months ago. He was the 80th Grand Master of the Knights, elected in 2017 as interim leader and official leader in 2018. He's remembered for his dedication to the needy. The Order of Malta goes out to meet the poor where it's obvious, which is on the street, but also to the poverty of families. In recent times, we've noticed that there are two emergencies that have grown and are paradoxically poorly understood. During his time as Grand Master, Dalla Torre patched up problems with the Vatican, begun by the previous Grand Master, Matthew Festing, who debated who should run the order. To elect a new Grand Master, 54 senior officials meet at the Magistral Villa in Rome for a secret ballot vote. Due to coronavirus, this election could be pushed back.
Pope Francis wants to promote a better understanding of John Paul I. That's why he established a Vatican Foundation to study his life, his message, and his works. Albino Luciani was elected Pope when he was 65 years old, after the death of Paul VI. Although his pontificate lasted only 1 month, it marked the emergence of a new style.
Io risposi, sarà, ma trovo strano che mi possa guidare chi non ci vede. La cieca allora mi pigliò la mano e sospirò, cammina. Era la fede.
He was the first pope to refuse to wear the papal crown. He tried to abandon the throne-like sedia gestatoria, but he accepted it because it was the only way the pilgrims in St. Peter's Square could see him. Cardinal Pietro Parolin leads the new foundation. Another member is Cardinal Beniamino Stella, a great expert on John Paul I. He is also the postulator of the latter's cause for beatification. The foundation's vice president and second in command is historian and journalist Stefania Falasca. The panorama of current popes who have institutions and research dedicated to them was missing studies on Albino Luciani. It's necessary to be able to speak in scientific terms about him, his work, and his thought, which is extraordinarily relevant today. It's worth studying Albino Luciani. John Paul I died on September 28, 1978. On November 23, 2003, John Paul II declared him a servant of God, the first stage on the way to canonization. In 2017, Pope Francis officially recognized that John Paul I had lived the Christian virtues in a heroic way. Studying him will surely bring many surprises. During his pontificate, he made clear appeals for solidarity, based on the Populorum Progressio. He did this also to make it clear that the faith is one with charity, that love for God cannot be separated from love for one's neighbor. He wanted to add solidarity with the Third World to the precepts of the Church. This was in 1971, and I was struck by his foresight. One of the Foundation's first tasks will be to prepare a publication of the complete works of John Paul I, who was Patriarch of Venice, and who, with his smile, conquered the world and opened new paths within the Church.
The Order of Malta moved to this island when Charles I of Spain gave it to them in exchange for an annual gift, a Maltese falcon trained to hunt. They continued to pay this tribute until they left the island toward the end of the 18th century. Coming up after the break, applause for janitors, the silent heroes of the pandemic. You are watching Rome Reports.
Muslims make up about 96% of the population in Pakistan. Christians, on the other hand, struggle to fill even 2% of the total. They are the usual targets of persecution and discrimination.
In Pakistan, Christians live on the bottom rung of society, and that's because of the long-term built-in problems associated with persecution. You think about sewer workers in Pakistan, the guys who go down into the sewers or sweep the streets. Now, guess what? When those jobs come open, Muslims aren't even allowed to apply for them. They're only for Christians.
Jeff King, president of International Christian Concern, explains the impact of the lockdown imposed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. He says day laborers in Pakistan who were already barely surviving are now facing especially dire situations of starvation because they can no longer work.
In other places in Pakistan, Christians are not receiving food aid. So the government's putting out food aid, and yet they deny it to the Christians. This is not a new dynamic. This kind of thing happens all the time. So we're raising funds and doing fundraiser to get food out there right now. We have food packages that go to families to feed them for a month, and we're going to do a couple months of that.
King says Pakistani Christians meet these unimaginable challenges with faith because it's the only way for them to keep moving forward.
It's not that fear is not a part of it. It is. It absolutely is. But really, they're called to a higher level of faith and to trust going through that. And you think about that, that's what we're living through with COVID-19.
It's precisely during the ongoing pandemic, which has revealed in many people a new capacity for compassion and solidarity, that special efforts can be made to help persecuted Christians overcome the suffering they've been experiencing since long before the coronavirus went on its rampage. There are many people helping fight the spread of the coronavirus. Doctors, for example, are on the front line of this battle.
Stanno dando proprio la propria vita per aiutare gli ammalati, per salvare la vita degli altri.
The risk of contracting the disease hasn't deterred health professionals, despite the overwhelming work and stress of recent months. God helps those who help themselves. They're working for the good of the patients. Some are on the front lines, others in the second, but all of them at the forefront. They are simultaneously praying to heaven for the end of the pandemic and to find ways to improve people's situations. Dr. Jose Maria Simon belongs to the International Federation of Catholic Medical Associations. He says one of the big challenges of the crisis is allocating resources. It's difficult because a doctor's responsibility is to never abandon the sick. It's always important to distribute resources in a fair, equitable manner, not leaving anyone behind, but rather treating everyone. The doctor or health professional can always do more for the person. We must never give up nor abandon them, even if it means just holding their hand. We can and should always do more for everyone. Throughout the crisis, he has witnessed the dramatic situation in many health centers. However, he has also seen God's mercy reflected in the hope of the sick. This Catholic doctor proposes putting the person at the center. He also says the tragedy of other medical concerns like AIDS, diabetes, and malnutrition should not be forgotten. He also hopes the Pope's words during the extraordinary blessing he gave on March 27th will continue to push humanity to build a future with the person as its focal point.
Di ospitalità.
They are the silent heroes of this crisis. They are the cleaning personnel of healthcare centers. Their discreet but fundamental work is vital to halting the spread of the coronavirus. We aren't just the cleaning people. We're cleaning professionals, and very good professionals. Benita Chaparro is 60 years old. She has spent more than half her life working at the Príncipe de Asturias Hospital in Madrid. Hospital cleanliness and general cleanliness are very important. It's an important war at every level. If that final line of defense, cleaning, doesn't work, doesn't respect technicalities, doesn't follow protocol, the virus could spread so much more. We are the fire break, preventing the virus from spreading. One of the companies to lend this service is Crece. Its workers describe this health emergency as an opportunity to express solidarity. The other day, I was in a room disinfecting the floor, and I noticed it was 8 p.m., the time set aside for applause. So I saw the patients leave their rooms to stand at the door. There was a man with an IV, and they started to applaud me. That stuck with me. I was touched. For weeks, they have been working under tremendous pressure and stress to guarantee that hospitals are in good conditions to treat coronavirus patients. They stand on the front line with doctors and nurses. The entire staff stays strong despite the toll of working such long hours.
Un giorno io e Lotti lavoravamo insieme. Ero particolarmente stanca e demoralizzata e dovevo dirlo a qualcuno.
E in quel momento mi sono ricordata del pianoforte in ospedale. Allora mi sono detta, dai, andiamo a suonare, che passa tutto. E dopo le prime note improvvisate mi è venuto l'istinto Imagine.
Ho pensato di condividere quel momento particolare anche con mio marito e così ci siamo fatte filmare.
E il nostro messaggio è insieme
ce la faremo.
It's in that way, singing through tears of emotion and pain, that they start to imagine the moment when they will all be able to hug one another again.
What is the highest city in the world? Whistler, La Riconada, Karachi. You're watching Rome Reports. What is the highest city in the world? Whistler, La Riconada, Karachi. The correct answer is B. La Riconada is in the Andes at more than 16,500 feet above sea level. You're watching Rome Reports.
Loud Crazy Love tells the story of Brian Head Welch, a former member of Korn, the Grammy Award-winning band that rose to fame in the 1990s and sparked the nu metal genre. The documentary features the protagonists themselves, a father and daughter, who share their experiences of dealing with addiction, depression, and uncertainty.
I have plenty of memories from when my dad was in Korn.
The documentary shows how the unexpected birth of his daughter, Janae, drove a drug-addicted Brian Welch to turn his life around and be a better father.
I was just scared that I was gonna screw up the kid like I was screwing up myself.
It isn't the story of a simple one-time conversion.
I'm an animal. I just looked up and I just said, Father.
Rather, it's a roller coaster ride of continuously falling and getting back up.
I can't control my rage, I'm stressed out.
I just wanted someone to realize I'm hurting.
She says, I cut myself because of you.
And I said, I hate you.
Loud Crazy Love, first released in 2018, is an unconventional story of rage, conversion, and sacrifice. It's a brutally honest portrayal of what it means to give everything up out of love.
A rock and roll.
Capuchin friars Brandon Berg and Vince Carasso in San Antonio, Texas, have taken up dancing during the quarantine.
We thought it would be a cool idea to just reach out to the folks, give them a little joy, a little smile.
We're not able to be with each other physically, so social media has really filled this gap for us of being able to relate to each other.
The Capuchin sense of humor was also seen in the past with the Mannequin Challenge. Now the two friars play music and have their own podcast, The Brotherhood. They consider it one of their ministries to explain their vocation, especially to youth. In fact, youth ministry and watching his father's conversion helped solidify the faith for Brother Vince, planting missionary seeds in his heart.
I feel like my vocation can speak to the youth in a way that's powerful for them, hopefully lead them to God and hopefully help them to discover freedom, discover who they are, discover that, it's okay to follow Francis in the habit, or it's okay to be a disciple of Christ.
Brother Brandon, on the other hand, heard his vocation loud and clear before deciding to pursue it.
I prayed in front of a statue of Mary. I prayed the Memorare prayer. And in that moment of authentic prayer from my heart for genuine guidance from God, I heard the words, "Be a priest."
After much prayer and discernment over which type of priest he should be, Brother Brandon felt called to be a Franciscan friar. Now both in their vocation, they hope their stories and lives will help lead people closer to Christ. It could be in the form of a dance, a song, or through the ordinary conversations on their podcast, The Brotherhood. But they hope to spread the gospel to the world, all the way from Texas.
Your Majesty is where I'm complete.
The Dawning Fire is a fresh blend of relevance, sound, and depth. The title track of the EP is an original composition of a man with a story to tell and a talent to share. After leaving home at 12 years of age because of a number of challenges, Mike Rathke spent a significant part of his adolescence floating from house to house in his native Kansas.
When I was 14, my mom gave me $20 for my birthday, and there was a girl on my school bus that had a guitar for sale, and she said you can have it for $20, and so I gave her that $20, and that was sort of the start of my passion for music.
It was an unassuming start, perhaps, but a start that would reveal a call and a gift for music. From helping lead worship at his church to getting a degree in music, Mike remained attentive to God's presence in his life, which he says wasn't always a central part of his day-to-day.
Through the course of that, I never really felt like the Lord had released me to push and to pursue a music career so much. I always felt like he was saying, just serve me and be humble where you're at, and I'll open up the doors. And so that's what we're doing. That's what really started this whole process with the project, with the album that we recorded.
The new EP contains 5 worship songs, 4 originals, and 1 cover. Mike says his hope is that the dawning fire will encourage listeners to begin their walk with Jesus.
My heart and my desire for anything that I do is that it would do that it would spur the listener on to love God more, love their neighbor more, and just walk in the gifts and the way of life that God's given them. You know, whether they're car salesman, musician, pastor, whatever it is, to do that for the glory of God.
Mike says he's amazed by God's ability to speak through some of the most simple things on earth. He says his sources of inspiration are widespread, but now it might be his own music that will provide inspiration for others.
Signs to confirm what the prophet said.
In our next program, the Pope's inspiring words and actions during this difficult time. This and much more here on Rome Reports.
Should I try to use my mind to figure everything out, or should I simply rely on faith to understand? See, those who rely on faith alone to view the world are not using their minds to reason. And those who only rely on reason to interpret reality are turning their backs on the gift of faith. Well, the perfect solution involves a marriage of both faith and reason. See, God knew that we would be full of questions, big questions as large as our universe. And God created us with intellects to wonder, dream, and philosophize. Yet God asks us to believe in some truths that we can't see with our eyes. We can arrive at perfect truth when we choose to see with the eyes of faith while we reason with our minds. And our faith can truly blossom when we explore it with our mind. Maybe St. Augustine said it best. I believe in order to understand, and I understand in order to believe.
Live true. Live Catholic. Live Catholic.
For over 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has consistently transformed through sacred scriptures and sacred tradition. It is comforting to know that some things remain consistent. Live truth, live Catholic. Visit our shop at Shiashi, opposite Gethsemane Cemetery, and find for yourselves the following: monstrance, chalice, candles, clerical shirts, Bibles, writings of the early church fathers, and other sacramentals. For more information, contact Live Truth, Live Catholic Bookshop on 020-222-0376 or 024-960-6155. Live Truth, Live Catholic, your number one stop shop for your religious items.
Rome Reports comes to you from the Department of Social Communications, Catholic Archdiocese of Accra. This and every Sunday from 3:30 to 4 p.m. on GTV.